Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Woohoo! Party! It is Thursday, the 13th of July. July? No, June. Hey, I just lost a month there. I'm actually totally excited to get to that July 16th date that Adam told us that his cycle people are expecting the pivot in the market and we can go back to bull. Right now, we're just sort of, are we going to crap out here? Stock market's sitting up right up at the top end of its range. Bitcoin is trying to press higher here, holding on to its gains. Nice to see Litecoin hit a pretty impressive bullish objective yesterday and is backing off a little bit now, though. Because today is Thursday, this is our baby powder report day. Super stoked. We got Julian on the call. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm very good. How are you today?
Awesome. Always great to hear your voice. I had a really good team meeting yesterday. I think we got all our ducks lined up for this awesome TRI Vancouver meetup. Planned at the end of July, beginning of August. And if I'm not mistaken, Casey is actually carrying a pig from Vancouver Island on his shoulders to the meetup.
Oh my God.
Inside joke. Casey makes just the most incredible home style bacon. So we're all super stoked. 20 pounds of it. Right on.
That's why I'm going. I'm flying from Thailand to get home style bacon.
Right on, dude.
You had me at bacon.
There's Grim. This is really, really top-notch bacon too, man. I mean, seriously. Anyway, we don't want to get too far forward. We forgot one buddy, Mr. Mayor, throwing his diapers out of the windows. How you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, Brian. It's getting pretty toasty in Vienna, but aside from that, I can't complain, I guess.
Oh, is it? Oh, man. And if you ever get a chance to go to Vienna, it's a cool history lesson just to see where Alex lives, because he lives in one of these old, it's got like the alleyway where the horse-drawn carriages and stuff all were brought in and everything. It's so cool. But yeah, I remember last summer, it's just an absolute oven there in the summer. But nonetheless, great to have you on the call driving the bus. And it's really cool because today we've got the Julian report, the baby powder report. So we're going to get a really cool sort of, I think he said it's about a half hour, 45-minute presentation from Julian. And then tomorrow we've got Alex's, are we going to call it the cutlery report? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think the title's still in the making.
All right. We'll leave that up to you, but Alex has put together a really cool presentation on how he approaches the crypto market. So I'm super stoked. I love this content from all of our community members. Grim, by all means, I know you're on the calls all the time, and of course you do a great job, instructing the level oneers. If at any point you want to grab a slot on one of these daily brief offerings and talk to the community about what you're seeing in the market, you got the green light. I mean, I absolutely love working with all of you guys. It's so awesome. And then of course we've got Riza, who is actually extremely consistent being on these calls. And he's diligently working away with Sjord to get his education program up and running on sort of algo automated trading, which I think would be an incredibly value added service for the community. When he's ready to go, I suppose we'll give him the spotlight when he's ready to rock and roll. So again, I can't say enough. I'm absolutely loving the maturity of this site, this whole community idea that we're building. 1 + 1 = 3. I'm tickled pink. It's actually working, and I'm so proud of all of you guys. So with all that said, that was our sort of polite intro. Just an FYI for everybody, all of the beds in the respective houses that we're booking in Vancouver have been filled. So if you are planning on coming to Vancouver now, you're going to have to find your own spot. And just an FYI, TRI is sort of taking it on the chin to make sure that these houses are all booked. We don't really like to carry massive balances. So when we send out those invoices and stuff, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could just settle up, and so we can pay off credit cards and make sure that we're all playing from a position of strength. So with all that said, that's about all I want to say, sort of admin site-wise. We've got Julian here with the Baby Powder Report. And as we said, it's probably a good half hour, 45 minutes. Take your time, Julian. Tell us what's on your mind. Where do you want to begin?
Well, I like to stay consistent. So I thought we'd start with the S&P like we always do. And I didn't do a presentation last week, so I wanted to talk about what happened with the S&P, and I'm so pissed about this trade because I was waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And last time I was on, I actually talked about what I thought would happen versus what actually happened. So what I thought would happen I thought that like we would break out of this downtrend and we would go something like this, and then we'd go like this, and then we'd do this. And I would expect price action to go something like this, and then we do this. Or we do this one, and then we do this. But it had already happened back here with these two, and it just went straight higher. You didn't have a divergence on RSI at all. You barely had one on MACD, and even if you waited for the confirmation of the MACD on the daily, you wouldn't have gotten into a trade till after it was already above my Keltner channel here, which for me, it means no trade at that point. It's too late. So I was kind of pissed about how fast the market moved, and that I didn't get any opportunity at all to get into a trade. It literally just basically went straight up. And it shows how powerful these moves can be once you get a breakout. But usually you do get some kind of retracement. Like you can see this breakout here. It kind of sat here for a while, and you could have bought at some point. But then it went up, and then it pulled back, and you could have bought again, and then it pulled back here, and you could have bought again if you drew something like this. You buy here, buy here. But this one, it just took off, and you didn't even get a chance. Yeah, I didn't chase at all. I didn't do anything. I'm just sitting now and waiting for. I need to see some kind of move down to draw my next trend line. I don't really have a trend line. If I went on the 4 hour, I could share one, but I wanted to go over the daily chart first. Before let me go to the 4 hour. Let's go to the 4 hour quick. So I'm pissed about missing that, and that I didn't get in because I was just waiting for some kind of pullback to get it into a nice trade location, and I didn't get anything. You can see how literally, it took a while to move down, a couple days, and then we went back up in literally 2.5 days. We were back up. It's just amazing how quickly this happened. All right, hold on. So here on the 4 hour, you can see the divergence quite a bit better, like this. But again, you didn't get confirmation of any kind until here, and it's barely one. So I would have probably waited till this one, and then that would have been like my entry point on the 4 hour. But I was trading off the daily. I wasn't trading off the 4 hour. If I was trading off the 4 hour, I probably would have used this as an entry point here, and it's not a bad entry point. You've got MACD confirmed. I've got my breakout on the RSI. I don't really like entering when it's at the VIP line, but it's not bad if I know there's momentum. Especially since it's interesting that where the MACD gives you basically the signal is at the bottom of my Keltner channel, which would signal, look, there's this like resistance area where we could potentially go back down, and you've got this gap down here. So even then, it's not a good trade. And if it was sitting here, I probably wouldn't have taken it if I was watching it on the 4 hour, which I wasn't. So I'm just annoyed, I guess, at how quickly this move happened and how terrible the signal was. It was not clear at all.
Less than 10 minutes, dude. Don't take it personally. It's just the way.
No, I know. I'm just sharing my emotions and how I felt, and I didn't take the trade. It's okay. I'm
seeing
glad.
that. I mean, when I look at that chart, I see a V bottom. V bottoms naturally need to be tested.
Yeah.
What I often find with the market is if it spikes up like that and it left behind, that the pros will just work the market back down. And then if it is actually a good trade, they'll set it up nice and politely.
Well, yeah, I'm actually watching to see if I can get some kind of M here and a move back down. Like I'm not surprised that it paused here. If you look on the 4 hour, we've got this 9 on the TD mark. So, and you're at the top of the Keltner channel.
That's got to be
I love how it all.
If anything, I
lines up.
kind of, I've been talking in the past few episodes about how I kind of like the idea of the market actually as a short here. So
Yep.
maybe the reason why the buy didn't set up very well is because this really isn't a buy. They're actually setting up a sell. Like if
Well,
your
for me, yeah,
RSI
I
ends
just
out here, would you get a sell signal on that?
yeah, but I need to see the M. I don't really
Yeah.
have anything yet, so I
Yeah,
need to see that, and I need to see a MACD cross. I need the MACD to cross down too.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm waiting to see if that happens. I like the 9. I like the Keltner channel resistance, but I've got to wait for more. I think, actually, if I do a fib, you know how much, you like to do fibs. I will do a fib really quick from this bottom here, right up to here. And if we reverse, we're right at, we're right in that like shorting window right here. Okay. We've got location.
Yep.
Where's my little, you probably talked about this already, like yesterday or something.
Well, I do like the fact that your sort of upper Keltner band, well, actually, I guess both of your sort of Keltner bands are basically sitting right in that reload zone. So this is like a major brick wall for the market here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, we've got Fed coming out next Wednesday. Do we really want to take any huge bets? Does it make sense that the stock market would break out to new highs with the Fed meeting next Wednesday? That's in less than a week. I doubt it. If anything, breakouts might actually be a massive trap. So
yeah. Hey, do you know what happened to the squares? I used to make squares. Where are the squares? How do I add a square?
Geez, I don't know. Maybe book a tutorial with
now it says
RI expert.
Now it just says call out. I thought it used to be there. But okay, whatever. I don't know where the square is at this point. But I wanted to just show a red square showing the short zone location, but 0.786 to 0.618 short zone location. I just wanted to look at that.
That paintbrush, you see the little paintbrush? Yeah, there.
Oh, there we go. I couldn't get that to pop out before. Okay, so yeah, like this. Like you like to draw.
I just saved you $100 booking a tutorial.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. You're so considerate. Okay, so that's my opinion on the S&P on the daily and the 4 hour. I don't really like to go much lower than that. Let's look at the options really quick. Let's see what the max pain is going to be tomorrow. We've got our wall of calls. I mean, literally 60,000 calls at 291. You've got another 36,000 at 290. And then you've got this big open space area from 289 basically to 285. That's a pretty big area. Can't really predict where it's going to end up. You've got a big wall at 280 and 282. Safe to say we're not going to go down there. We're sitting at the upper end of the call side, 289. They could sit it right here for the rest of till the end of the close tomorrow and make out like bandits.
Yeah, that would be absolutely perfect.
Perfect. Or they could go down, fill this gap a little. There's a little gap here, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Just as long as they don't close it above 291, that is a monster home run.
They do better if they went to 288.5, which they could just fill the gap here, 288.5.
Yep. Such a great little handy tell if you are interested in sort of trying to figure out where the big boys are taking markets out. That's such a great little tool.
Yeah, it's only really good, I find, like on Thursday into Friday to figure out where it will be Friday. I wouldn't suggest using it for like reading it on Monday and thinking it's going to end up where it says it will be on Friday, unless it's a monthly expiration. If it's a monthly expiration, generally it's pretty accurate. But the weekly ones, the rest of the time, you have to kind of do it by Wednesday or Thursday look, because it changes a lot throughout the week, the open interest. So be careful there. Okay, so for me, because it's still like kind of on the RSI, I'm still above the BIP line on 1 hour, 4 hour, and the daily chart. That signals kind of a bullish a bit of a bullishness to me. So I would veer towards, you know, it closing between 289 and 290 on the upper end. We'll say 288 to 290. I expect as a close tomorrow. Let's see what happens. That's enough for me on the S&P, unless Brian, you have something to add.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. All right. Last time I talked about United States Steel Corp. I talked about how, again, the same thing with this one. I thought, you know, we'd break out of the RSI and then we'd hit the VIP line, and then we'd kind of go down a bit like this before taking off and maybe going up to my Keltner channel. But as you can see, we just kind of went straight up, hit the wall, and now we're just sitting. But maybe we will get a retracement and then possibly a move higher. We'll see. This is all I have right now from a trend line perspective on the upper end. I would like to see him move down, and then we can move higher. I don't have a trade here. I just, you know I talked about it last time, so I wanted to talk about it again. I also talked about Abercrombie and Finch last time and said I didn't have a trade yet, but you know, since then it's been developing, and it's just sitting down here. And I have the RSI. It did break out of the downtrend right here, but it's extremely in an extremely embedded area. But oftentimes when the RSI is this embedded, you sometimes get good trades. So I want to look back and see if it ever was this down this far. This is crazy. Come on, chart, load. Okay, it looks like this is about the worst one. So what happened back then? Yeah, right here. Yeah. Where did that go? Also, so you can see how we came down here. Well, it's 21. I want something like 16 here. Same thing with earnings.
The divergence hunter, mind you, I guess that didn't really go into divergence there, did it?
No. So this is again the same thing that happened in the current one where earnings came out and the stock, it just dropped off a cliff. And you can see how it sat down here in this area. It basically is doing the exact same thing this time. And I can even do my, RSI. And we can see how it broke out. But even though you got a breakout and it recovered, it still went even lower. So what I want to see is I want to see a breakout of the RSI. Then I want to see a retracement down and then a move up again. So I have 2 points to draw my trend line. And then I would probably take the trade off like the lows. So I draw my trend line and then I take the trade off the lows. I try to get a trade somewhere here. I'd probably put it down here and maybe not get filled. Or I could have, maybe put half here and half down here. But I might have just put it down here and then maybe not gotten filled. I'm not sure. And then I would have drawn, during the trade, I would have drawn another RSI. And I probably would have maybe sold out and gotten out on the 9 when it hit the 9. I'm not sure. Or I would have waited for an RSI breakdown, but then I would have been screwed here. So it's interesting to look what happened in the past with this stock. It certainly makes me a bit more cautious than I might normally be. Let's go back. Okay. So it's really, really oversold, but it's so bearish. I don't have a trade.
I don't know.
Yet.
Did you? I put out tweets today. The retailers in the States right now are just screaming bloody murder. So there's a lot of conjecture that this is on my screen. I don't know whether you can see it. U.S. retailers they're now not even giving outlooks because they just are so completely uncertain about the future with regard to China. And this is an interesting read. I think I tweeted it out, this whole sort of thing. And the weird thing is you hear Brian say the same things over and over and over. And after a while, you're just like, shut up, Brian, Jesus Christ. And you almost tune him out. But I've told you guys this before. Trade wars, in my experience, never end well. So I'm a little leery about stepping in on retailers right now, especially like a higher end name like an Abercrombie and Fitch, because I think that a lot of their sort of guidance and, we're going to grow earnings and we're going to grow shareholder value, that all is all coming into question with this whole China spat. So it makes sense why Abercrombie looks as weak as it is. And, like we're playing our women's lingerie stock and just getting absolutely destroyed. I threw $100 at call options here, and I bought January calls, so it's not like there's any hurry here. But this chart looks like an absolute train wreck. So it makes sense why your Abercrombie looks as bad as it does.
You might have a potential MACD divergence there on yours.
Well, but that's it, potential, right? And kind of like your chart, let's 3 reasons for a trade. Location, the stock's in the shitter. Let's now start seeing some bottoms come in on things like MACD, divergences, RSI, double bottoms, yada, yada, yada. And then, if we can get a half decent little candle pattern, then maybe there's a trade there.
Yeah, my big concern is like there's this big gap right here. It could easily just drop and fill this gap.
Sure.
Right, and we're all the way down to 12.
Yeah, we're working on a setup right now. Actually, it's cool that you said that number, because we're working on a setup right now where the setup says that the stock or asset has to fall by more than 50% in a 2 or 3 or like a 2-week window. So you topped out there on the high 30s. That was
now it's down 50%.
Yeah. Right. So we're starting to get in there. And if anything, I would just draw a horizontal line right off of that gap level as sort of like the ideal sort of area to start thinking about buying it.
The bottom of the gap down here at 13 or 12.
Yeah, just take that, go over to your drawing tools. Yeah, that one there, horizontal ray. No, not line, horizontal ray. Well, you could put that on there. It's fine. But yeah, right off of that gap level, just draw your line. There you go. So you've got your sexy little trade location window. And, in essence, that would be what does that say? 13, $14 or something?
$12.97.
$13. So 13 times 2 is 26. And the top of the gap there was like, in there, 26, 27, 28 kind of
24.
Area. So, that's that sort of 50% kind of idea. So, it's interesting. If anything, we should maybe even be looking at pricing some calls. But I would notice the MACD here is now turning up. The histogram, I'd love the histogram to come down and test those lows and make like a nice, beautiful W. And then I think, you probably got a trade idea. But I could very easily see for the next month or two, Mr. Trump is not acquiescing at all here on this sort of whole China stuff. I don't know how this is going to play out. Nobody does. Nobody knows the future. But if anything, that headline that I showed you about retailers, it makes sense what's going on here with Abercrombie. In light of the fact that the whole retail sector is just reeling right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to take a look at Boeing and GE? I know those are sort of your favorites.
Let me take a look at Boeing.
This is the baby powder report. So what's on the baby's mind today?
Not GE or Boeing. I was kind of bored of those. But we can look at them really quick. Yeah, Boeing, I don't really see anything. I can't even really draw something. I mean, if I go do this one, either way, it looks like we've got a bit of an RSI downtrend breakout and more of a bullish formation on both, the MACD here. Nice, actually, you got a really nice divergence going on, and same with the RSI. Oh, this is actually not bad here. Interesting. I wonder why it looks so good. Huh. Okay, hold on one second. Let's draw some fibs.
I don't know whether you saw, but the news headlines this morning reported that there's a couple ships that were attacked in the Gulf of Hormuz or whatever. I don't know whether that's just an awful coincidence to try and help put some sort of bottom in the crude oil market, or whether this is part of Mr. Trump's plan that he'd really like to engineer a war with Iran. But things are maybe hotting up. And, of course, Boeing, makes the cruise oil missiles, right, the Tomahawks.
They make lots of things. Any kind of war is good for Boeing.
Yeah. So maybe this sort of, I mean, I know it's a conspiracy and all that kind of crap, but maybe they're trying to engineer a war here, and that might actually help Boeing with the whole 737 stuff.
Oh yeah, whenever there's war, the American economy does better. I feel like. So
So
none of that would really surprise me that much, but it would definitely help Boeing
it
stock
looks
for
like there's
sure.
a cheeky little gap there too. I see from back
Yep,
in
right
looks
here,
like
right here.
well,
Up
no,
at
no, further
37.
down, further down, further down. Back in
Oh, right here.
January. No,
May,
looks
right
like
here.
it's back in like December, January. There, it looks like it's about
Right here.
to the left.
Here. This one,
No, now
December.
to the right. You're getting
This
closer.
one,
There
right,
you
right
go. You
here.
got it. Right.
That
So I
really
think
tiny one.
that's the original W down there, right? So
Yeah, that's it touched and filled that right here.
well, it touched it. Did the actual candle body fill it in? But anyway, the point
No,
that I'd make is it
just
doesn't
a wick.
surprise me that we see some buying pressure come in off of that level.
Yeah. So it's not bad. I might look at this more myself and look at some
Yeah, can
calls.
you draw a downtrend line off of the peaks and see whether we're breaking LJ setups kind of stuff?
Like just right here, like this.
Yeah. I don't know where that next peak is. I can't really see it on your
Right,
screen, but
right
yeah,
there. Yeah,
W, a W that comes in on the other side of that trend line is going to be a buy signal.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah, but is that trend line drawn off of
Yeah, the highs here and then this one right here.
that high there? But we probably should draw it off of the previous high.
This
So
one
I
right
think
here.
actually this thing's already broken the trend line. Yeah.
It's already broken it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So a W that comes in on the other side of that trend line is a buy signal. So yeah,
I actually like this. I really like this. I might look at some calls.
all right. Well, the great part about the market is it's your money. If you want to buy some calls, go for it. As long as it fits into your plan. You got 3 reasons to take the trade, and you are monitoring your behavior. Am I fucking up and making mistakes? Actually, the cool thing is the level 3ers are just going through this right now. Demon finders and all that. I actually don't hear that you're susceptible to mistakes, but some people are, and it's a hard hurdle to get over.
The only thing I'm susceptible to is, and everyone can listen to this, is that sometimes I used to, especially before I knew Brian, I would get impatient and I would put too much money, and then if the trade went against me, when I started trading, I was like 20, and I blew up my first account within 3 months. Because I was just impatient and I put so much money into like 1 or 2 trades. And since then I've learned a lot about controlling how much money I put in and learning to be patient. And I think part of that, a big part of that is meeting Brian. The other part is me getting older and more patient. While, that's why they often say, so I think women are often more patient than men, and that's why they often say they're better traders.
Yeah, well, they did a study back in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was not very popular, I'll tell you that much. But Colleen, you'll love this. They actually did a study, and it turns out that women make far better investors than men.
Yeah, because they're patient. While men are like, I want to get rich quick. I want to get rich quick. Need to buy that car. Yeah.
I saw Grim took his. He's on camera now, so I think Grim's got something important he wants to say. Did you want to add to this conversation, Grim?
I was just gonna say this is great sharing. Like this is the kind of stuff that particularly new traders need to hear, right? The learning process involves being wrong, right? Being wrong at some time in your life and making mistakes is how you learn to not do that in the future, right? And the only way we can do that is by really being honest with ourselves and taking steps to avoid those scenarios where we're wrong. That's why I don't trade if I have less than 6 hours of sleep, because I noticed when I do, I take risks that I shouldn't take. I take setups before they're fully in. I'm a bad trader on less than 6 hours of sleep, and there's stuff like that you learn over the course of trading that are what really changes you from being an accidentally good trader into a professional trader.
No,
yeah.
Well said.
Well said. And actually, for me, I don't even think I would be here doing this if I hadn't, when I was 21, gotten into trading thinking I'll tell you guys, I finished college, right? And I had $10,000 in my bank account, and I had $20,000 of debt from college. I graduated with an engineering degree, and I thought, okay, how hard could it be? I'm gonna double my money, and I'm gonna pay off my debt in 6 months. 3 months later, I lost all my money. So that was the beginning, basically, of my entire trading journey, and it hasn't stopped since. I don't think if that hadn't happened, I don't think I'd be here.
That's a good tell, though, Julian, because a lot of people, to actually learn how to do this right, actually have to fail first, and it sucks. Yeah. And it's so
it sucks. It was emotionally like destructive. I feel like for like a month, I was so. I mean, now I think about 10,000. I'm like, okay, 10,000. It's a lot, but at the same time, to me anymore, it's different. It feels different. But at 21, 10,000 was my entire world.
Yeah,
like it was so much money, and so it just felt like I ruined my entire life.
It's weird how when you put on a trade, you're like, oh, $5,000 trade, man. So what? I'm going to get rich, right? And then poof, it disappears, and it's like, uh-oh.
Exactly.
So, and if anything, that's half of what we're trying to do at TRI. Ironically enough, for the level 1 program, our big job is just slow down. Just put the brakes on. So, all right, good stuff. All right, so talk a little bit about GE. I can talk about the little setup that we reviewed.
If you want to talk about the little setup you reviewed, I mean, real quick, I'll show you. We've got this trend line it recaptured, but I've got a 9 on the TD mark. It's at the top of my Keltner channel. I've got an RSI divergence here where it's hitting the top of the trend line. This is where I would look to be selling more than anything, rather than buying anything. Or I would look to be selling here. I don't like the way this looks at all.
Okay,
go ahead.
That's totally fine. We do and I would prefer that it's people that have done the level 3 program, have gone through understanding options, the language, the nomenclature, understanding the inherent risks in options. But we do a options meeting every Tuesday, and somebody had asked me through that meeting, Brian, if I wanted to play this bullish bot through that we're seeing develop on GE, how could I do that through options? So we have just sort of a fun case study here. I haven't actually taken the trade, but hopefully everybody can see we had a smart rally off of the bottom, nice double bottom, nice consolidation, 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. You can see the trend line break here. I kind of agree with Julian in that, following the trend line break, that's when we want to see the W develop to justify the actual trade. But nonetheless, the bot levels, you can see that basically the bot wants to get long from about 10.02, risk down to 8.79, basically against these lows, with an ultimate target of 13.69, 13.70 kind of area. And so the question was, how can we play this? I could throw down, 100 shares at $10. Can anybody do the math for me? I think that sounds like about $1,000, right? Or I could go in and buy the $7 call on 100 shares for $3.20 at this particular point. And as you can see, the $7 call, even now, will have intrinsic value at 10.28. It has intrinsic value of basically $3.30. When we did this, the $7 call was trading 3.20, and it had intrinsic value of $3.12 because we had the meeting there the other day. So this is a way that you can play the stock market through deeply in the money options that are trading primarily just at intrinsic value. They have very little time value or volatility premium built into them. And you can basically play the stock market at 1/3 of the cost of just buying the actual shares. So it is an interesting way to play. You could also consider buying 3 of these call options and basically spending the same amount of money as if you just went and bought 100 shares of the stock. These are leaps, right? So they actually, I think this is like a November, oh, actually October, I beg your pardon, it's not a leap. So you have quite a bit of time. And the long and short of it here is because the option is so deeply in the money that if it comes down to this 879 area and breaks this low, it will still have $1.70, $1.80 of intrinsic value in it. So literally all you're doing is you're risking the actual dollar figure of the in the money. I hope that makes sense. And then conversely, if it works, the option, if we get up to 1369, it'll be worth $6.60 of just purely intrinsic value. And basically your profit potential is $3.40. So this is an interesting case study. I'm going to keep it on the screen. We'll sort of revisit this. I think I like what Julian's sort of thinking. We've gone through quite a bit of a rally here. Could we get a pullback and a nice little sort of sideways into this? Like, I don't think that the broader stock market bottoms until sort of mid-July. So, we're mid-June now. Could we take the next month and sort of carve out a half decent little W pattern in here? I think that's totally realistic. And actually, it'd be really cool if we could juxtapose this strategy and then have Julian follow his charts. And when he's registering a buy signal, let's go look at these in the money calls, see what they look like, see if the bot is still active. And then, we can always sort of tinker with this paper trade. But I think this is going to be a really interesting case study for us to follow. I can see Grim is just chomping on the bit to say something.
Well, so for those who aren't familiar with options, it's worth noting when he says you're going to potentially make 340, that we're actually talking about $340 of profit that you would make potentially in that
right
transition.
And
that directly correlates with risking $1,000 and then that going up to $369 more, right? So you're making about as much money with a third the outlay.
Right. Good point. Right. Because in essence, this option in the money will basically move the same as if you owned 100 shares of the stock. So I'm not necessarily touting an idea, but if you are a bot trader and you are comfortable with trading options, it's definitely sitting there. It is an idea. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, Colleen, your hands off here, ma'am. I would suggest, all new people to the site, even as you're working through sort of level 2, if options do interest you, well, then just paper trade it and just say, all right, well, Brian, I will follow along and I will paper trade. Boom. I just bought the option on paper. Let's see what happens. But I just wanted to mention this because it was asked about in the TRI SOF meeting. And it's an interesting case study that we should follow along. And of course, if the stock goes zipping up, which actually I'm actually expecting the stock market to melt up here through the latter part of the summer and into the early fall. And then the next cycle pivot comes in September 25th. So we picked the October call so that into that cycle pivot peak, that should just basically be, this thing should be nearing, still have another month of time. So interesting case study. I just wanted to mention to the community. Sorry for derailing you, Julian.
That's okay.
Continue.
Where was I?
So we were talking GE. So
GE,
if you want to look at currencies now or something.
Yeah. Let's look at
what's
Bitcoin? Going on. No. Currencies first. Let's talk about. Let me complain a little bit here. I need to complain about how my money doesn't go as far in Thailand again. So we had, so here's the Thai bot. We had some wonderful celebration here where it was back at, I was receiving 32 bot for every dollar. And now I'm back to receiving only 31. And I think that primarily has to do with what happened with the US dollar here over the past couple of days. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So let's see, did it? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so basically it's just the US dollar declining that impacted this decline in the Thai bot.
And that's like a double M, like two M's firing off of that midpoint, that blue line on your RSI
Yep,
study.
that's the VIP line.
That is huge.
Very important line. Yep. Bounce.
So that to me, when I
divergence.
look at that chart, I think a massive trend shift has happened here in the US dollar. And I think it makes sense too, because, Fed's been going, we're going to raise rates, we're going to raise rates. And now recently they've been like, well, okay, maybe we're done.
Yeah,
So-
I'm really disappointed about that because I was enjoying the higher rates in my savings account that I have. So that's disappointing.
That looks
Right.
like a pretty significant
It's
break.
very significant. Look at this break. This is huge. I mean, we're still above my VIP line, so that's good. And the minute we break down from there, we'll hit this first resistance at the top of the Keltner channel, and then we'll break down and we'll go to the middle point. See how that? Look how beautiful these lines just line up. The blue line lines up with this bottom here. This line lines up with these bottoms here, and then this lower line. Actually, the lower line doesn't really line up. Well, it does. You have like this resistance, all this here. And that's your lower line. And you could drop all the way down there and then go even further, possibly, back to where we were last year in March.
Do we have a tutorial on the site to help people put those channels on their charts?
We do. There's Keltner channel.
Cool. Because, if somebody's watching this and they're like, damn, I want to do that too. I want to be
it's
able to
pretty
get
easy.
the ability to do that.
There's a lot of strong support here at the 92 level. It's only a minor decline. It's not the end of the world. I will hate it if I have to pay more money here. We're sitting. I mean, look at this. Look at this huge support on the Thai bot. There's huge support at 31. It hasn't broken that level in a long time, and we are still technically in an uptrend, meaning that the dollar should go up versus the Thai bot. So we'll see what happens here. I also have the Chinese yuan over here. So let's take a quick look at that, how it's doing. It's still technically in a downtrend in comparison to the US dollar. We had this huge downtrend on it. And again, remember, when it goes up, that means that it's actually going down in comparison to the US dollar. And we had this, but then it broke down. So then it's just stagnating here. It's not going to necessarily move until it crosses over this VIP line. I don't particularly see, I don't see any kind of trade here. I do see the stochastic is embedded down here, which signals to me a negative signal that, there's not going to be any move higher until this gets back up here. And by higher, I mean lower, I guess. It's so confusing. It's even confusing to me while I'm talking about it. So we'll see what happens. Again, it has to do with China and Trump. Basically, what the two sides decide. I think it's just in a holding pattern at this point, because nothing's happened with China and the U.S. They're not saying anything really. I mean, Trump's saying things, but he's not really doing anything. So I think until something concrete happens on either side, nothing's really going to happen with this price.
It seems to me that this Hong Kong situation could really get out of control really quickly. If people start dying, this could turn into a real mess really fast.
I don't really know what's going on in Hong Kong, actually. What's going on in Hong Kong?
The Hong Kong people have sort of thought that they've been a bit immune to the sort of, prison camp mentality of mainland China. And they're trying to pass, there's a puppet government in Hong Kong that's basically a tool of mainland China government. And they're slowly trying to pass laws that will make extradition of people based on political charges easier for mainland China to basically get those people out of Hong Kong and into prison camps.
Really?
Yeah, and there's like literally, hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong people coming out and demonstrating, and I actually think that a big reason why Bitcoin's catching a bid right now is because of this. And I wonder, if this spirals out of control, then I could see, the whole Chinese story unravel very quickly. You never know with these crazy things. I mean, this might just sputter out and just peter out into nothing. But there's a bit of a pivot going on in Hong Kong right now. It's probably worth your while, everybody, just to sort of be familiar with what's going on and whether this thing keeps heating up. And I find it fascinating. I think this is part of the quote unquote deal. Mr. Trump has basically turned his back on Hong Kong. And he's just said, well, it's their problem. It's not our issue, which to me is sad because basically China is a totalitarian dictatorship, and it's kind of selling them out because we're supposed to in the West be all about freedom and all that kind of stuff, and that's all just sort of evaporated, which really it makes me as a human being sad. But nonetheless, we should all just keep an eye on how this Hong Kong situation plays out. I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of the bargaining process that Mr. Trump has struck with the Chinese.
Well, from my perspective, is it a bad thing if, we see how diabolical China can be and how dangerous, China becoming a world power could be?
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, the leader has basically set himself up as, I'm leader for life. If you don't like it, there's the prison camp. So yeah, I mean, I suppose you could have made the argument.
But what I'm saying is
the argument with Hitler. Let's just see how bad he gets, and then that way, if he's really bad, then we can justify kicking his ass. How bad does bad get?
It's better to see. It's better to see how bad he is sooner before China gets too powerful than to wait. Yeah. Right. Okay. I mean, so I'm just curious, like what if there hadn't been this trade war and all this stuff, and China hadn't been backed into a corner?
Yeah, I don't know whether, like I said, the way that Mr. Trump is sort of acting right now, not like in past, people would be like, we support free speech, we support, the freedom of the press, but we don't live in that world right now, which really saddens me. All I'm saying here is that, especially with regard to the Chinese.
Well, wait. I'm just curious. Let's get off of politics, yeah, because me and Brian have different opinions on Trump.
Totally different. Well, and I just don't want to get myself started, so let's let's move on.
I didn't mean for this to turn into politics. What I wanted to just mention was we should just keep an eye on what's happening with China and Hong Kong. And if this thing spirals out of control and the bullets start flying and stuff, like I said, I think that helps Bitcoin. So if you're a Bitcoin bull, you're like, rah, 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 come on, let's get death and carnage, right? So, it is what it is. I'm not making a political comment here. I apologize for that, audience listening. I do know there's some people in our community that are very pro what's going on in China. I'm not going to touch that. And I put out a tweet saying I'm not going to touch politics at all. All I'm saying is we as market participants, we should just keep an eye on what's going on the ground there. All right. Rant's done. I'll go back on mute. Sorry, everyone, for derailing.
Oh, good. All right. I can talk about politics without Brian interrupting. Okay. So Trump. No, I'm kidding. Can we look at real quick before we go into Bitcoin, just really fast? I wanted to look at, somebody put up this biopharma PDLI, and I bought a little bit of it at the lows here because I like how it looks on my RSI, where it's like basically breaking out, and the MACD looks good too. Or it has, I don't want to see it roll over here. Let me fix that a little bit. There we go. Okay. And also the RSI stochastic is embedded in bullish territory. I like how this looks. I'm looking for a move up to the bottom of this Keltner channel, and that's basically where I'm probably going to close the trade out. It's not on leverage or anything. I just bought a position. So basically I bought it. I'm going to set my stop right below here, and I bought it right down here. And I'm looking to sell right up here. So about 10% return. I just wanted to point this one out. It's a little trade that I took. Somebody in the lounge posted it. I just scroll through the lounge, and then if I see one where I'm like, oh, that looks good, and it looks good on my chart, sometimes I pick it up. I haven't been doing a lot of that lately because we've been really busy, but this one I liked what I saw. So just want to let you guys know I picked a little bit up. I like everything I'm seeing.
I do like the
yeah.
idea that if the market has to take a pause here into July, especially on the other side of this Fed meeting, that the pharma names should actually outperform.
Yeah, exactly.
And we are seeing a bunch of pharma names that are putting in bottoms. It's interesting, you know. Zach even posted this in the lounge. I was like get all excited for Zach because he found a really cool pharma stock. But you know, our rule here, of course, we can't go and buy up top here. Reload zones were down in this area here, so I can understand that. Look at what happened to this stock today. Oh my goodness. So it just goes to show that we got, you know, go slowly, people. Don't bet the farm on anything. So, oh well, what can you do? But long and short of it here is, you know, we had sort of, wow, look at that one. Okay, we got to sort of wait for it to come back down. And it just gapped violently lower. If anything, if this creates nice little divergences and stuff, I might really seriously look at this now. But that was an idea that we were chewing on the other day. So, all right. Sorry to derail you there. I just saw that Zach posted that in the lounge, and yeah, I saw that this morning. Crazy stocks. Actually, it's funny that you say PDLI because actually I went and bought this PDL in Canada. So I wonder if that was a typo by somebody on the chart. But this thing is just going crazy. So I don't know if any of you guys joined me on this, but man, this stock is just rocking and rolling here right now. Feeling pretty good about that trade. So if I'm going to tout anything, I've got to tout my good old North American Palladium pick. So, okay, where do we want to go next?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin tastes great. All right. What are you seeing out of Bitcoin these days?
It actually looks like, so I have this RSI here and I'm trying to like decide, okay, do I draw it off this one or do I draw it off this peak here? Because if I draw it off this peak here, I don't, oh Jesus, I don't, hold on. What is going on here? Okay, sorry. I don't know what just happened. I had like an alarm go off or something. Let me delete this line actually. This RSI is like basically like teetering on breakout level, but not at breakout level. So I'm watching it closely, and then the stochastic is turning around too, and I'm concerned that, you know, we're gonna get a violent break higher. That's why I want to look at the 4 hour. If I go off this one and I go off this one, because I hate these because you never know if you're at the top of the range or you're about to get a breakout. So that's what's going on right here, and what I'm seeing is that either this is a top and we're gonna head down lower, or we're about to break out. But we don't have a breakout yet. It's just sitting here, and we've even got a little bit of a divergence going on the 4 hour. So I'm watching this to see what happens. The MACD doesn't have any kind of divergence. There's no M of any kind, but there is one on the RSI. The stochastic on the 4 hour is embedded bullishly, but we have the Keltner channel resistance. If we break higher here into like the 8,400 area, or if we break higher here, we're going to shoot up to 8,400. If we break 8,400, I don't know where we stop. I really don't. Probably 9,700. That's the 50% level from the 20,000 to like the bottom, basically. That would be the next target. So I'm going to add this again. I've got an alert set on the break of this trend line, because I think if this breaks higher, it's going to move quickly. And if it doesn't, if we go down and if we break through this line, we're going to head back down to these lows, 7,500 area. So I don't have a trade. I'm in wait and see mode. On the daily, it's still, from my perspective, in like, it's basically in no man's land when the RSI, when the RSI is sitting at the VIP line like this. I consider it no man's land. I don't really have a trade at all. I have to do. Technically, it's like it would be considered bearish. But I'm worried that it's more of just a pullback and a holding pattern and getting ready. So people are accumulating here, and it's getting ready to break out higher. Which, you know, this is a standard. I feel like this is like a standard type of pattern that kind of happens before we get a breakout higher. Right, like this one, just like this. This is considered like a continuation pattern, right, Brian?
What's that? Sorry. Might be like bullish bot kind of stuff. But I don't know whether we have 3 high or lows there. You know, looking at your chart, I see M's in RSI. That's never good. And I see a real big fight here at your VIP line. So, I mean,
yeah, it's a big fight, but I'm trying to like, yeah, but I don't have anything clear.
Talking about heads and shoulders and stuff like that.
Yeah, but look at this ABCD. Like,
yeah.
if we do get this, look at how it perfectly goes up to this 50% line I have on the fib, 9,700. So
definitely,
if we,
I think
that's why on the 4 hour I have this set with an alert, because if we break out here, we're going to go to 9,700 for sure. That's basically where we're going to go. We'll probably shoot up quickly to 8,400, sit there for maybe half a day, and then we'll go to 97.
Can I get that?
I don't know if we'll. I mean, this is recorded, right? Isn't that better than writing? You have like my voice saying it.
So you're guaranteeing this trade for me then, eh?
No. I'm saying if the RSI breakout happens, then yes, then the trade is on.
That's what I said.
No guarantees.
Okay. What you're saying is if we trade 84.01, you will buy my Bitcoins off of me at 9,500. Is that what I heard you say?
No, I'm going to sell Bitcoins to you at 97.
You're going to sell to me? I don't want to buy.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell to you. I want to buy here. I want to buy at 982 or 84 if we get the breakout.
I'll buy it at 8,400. And
well, we're in agreement
that I'll be able to sell them. Anyway, I'm just being silly.
Wait, Joe, wait. I'm not saying it's definitely happening. We could get a move down here, you know, and let me tell you the best thing to do.
Yeah, and to be careful, you're on the same side as the trade as Tone Vase and Dav. That's dangerous.
Wait, Dav is saying that? I don't know. Maybe this could be wrong then. Oh God. Wait. Okay, so this is what in an ideal world I would like to happen, and I think would be very, very, very Bitcoin-ish. So I think let me. Oh, God. Okay. Let me zoom in here.
Whatever it's worth on my chart, just before you get going there, you know, this is the 4-hour OKCoin. Keep in mind, today, of course, we do have the OKCoin new contract listing. So everybody should be cognizant that, you know, later on this afternoon, this evening, we might see some absolutely crazy Bitcoin action here. But for our bots, you can see this actually made quite a pretty little flag. And its ultimate objective, if this plays out, is actually like 10,600. So go figure, right? I mean, I could see your levels. That wouldn't surprise me. The only thing I would say though is I'm very worried around this OKCoin expiry. This is the 1-hour chart. I think we're in this channel. We had nice little stamp algo signals fire yesterday, which kind of feels like, you know, this was a really nice coil. You can see the trend lines compressing, and then the breakout. So I can understand why the algo was pointing bullishly. You know, you can see this channel that we're sort of flirting with right now. And I agree with you, right? If OKCoin comes out and shits on us and this whole, because like Thomas is kind of thinking that they just rallied the market up into a new shorting window, strap on the new contract. It comes on, all the hedgers can short at a really nice, sexy level above 8,000, and then we could get a $500,000 dump here. That's totally realistic here, people. Keep that in mind. So those are the two thoughts that I have. Yes, I can understand upside objectives, but I'd also say too, you know, if we zoom out on this chart, we're coming into some pretty significant resistance here, whether it be the top of the channel. Let's get rid of that. whether it be the top of the channel, which is this line, whether it be this downtrend line off of these peaks, or the old what was support becomes resistance this level. So this is, in my opinion, and you can see on the profile too, right? This is kind of a funny little notch here. Don't be surprised that there's some big old fireworks monkey games around this new OKCoin contract listing. So that's the only thing I wanted to add to this conversation here. And the last thing that I'll say here is, because, you know, I know Grim got busted out on his recent bot short, but the bot is still technically alive. Just even this range here, that's 66 there. We haven't gone up through that. So that means that I have to keep bot levels sort of active. And I find it interesting that basically now 1 high, 2 highs, there is the bot level. It basically means that we've lost the POC and we're going to have to now explore the bottom part of value. So I'm sort of watching how this develops here. If we start amming out and, you know, 3 lower highs and we start losing trend lines and stuff, I could very easily see this roll over. And the interesting thing about all of this is that off of the daily charts, you know, and I talk about this on broiler chickens and all that kind of stuff. Off of the weekly charts, you can see that there's 38.2. There's the 13 EMA. That's still sitting down at, like, you know, 66, 6,700. So there is still definitely that potential for us. You know, Mr. Burchett would say, really, we can't even decide if this is a top or a bottom until this level is resolved. And I might even argue too, and hopefully you can see it here, we have one of these bull bear battle line scenarios. Now, I don't know whether we're going to top out here today based on the OKCoin contract expiry, but hopefully everybody here can see this now becomes trivia time, everybody. What does this 3-bar candle pattern represent, right? And that's unfortunately a fractal top, an empire. So if we lose these lows, we probably in the pooper for a while here.
Noting, and bear in mind, take this with a grain of salt, but I am biased because I did have that other short position on. So even unconsciously, I'm going to have some bias towards a bear. That's just how the brain works. But I am made nervous that 11 hours ago, CNBC put out a report saying it's time to buy Bitcoin.
Oh, no.
So
Jesus.
Take
All
that
right,
for what
thank
it's
you,
worth.
Grim. I appreciate that. Okay, so we are past the top of the hour. Julian, you've done an absolutely awesome report here today. Really, really great.
I didn't even finish my report.
Okay, then I'll shut the hell up. Finish your report. Let's wind this up and let's put a smile on the mayor's face.
Okay, so I want to see Bitcoin come down, you know, do the opposite of what CNBC says, come down to this level here, possibly even go below and hit the 7,400 fib level, stop everyone out, still put in the divergence here, and then move higher to 9,700 like this. Okay, that's what I want to see with Bitcoin. I think that would be a very Bitcoin-ish move to just head down, get everyone to crap their pants. Maybe even, is this a 4-hour chart? Yeah, it's a 4-hour. So Bitcoin likes to even go down through the 4-hour on my RSI and like go like this, and then it goes like that. It's even screwed me over sometimes where it's gone through this level, and then I've been like, oh no, it's a bear, and then it will recover, and then it'll be a bull, and it'll just take off and go quickly to the new high. That's kind of what I expect to see happen. I don't think it wouldn't be very Bitcoin-ish to just shoot up from here. It needs to do a crazy pullback and then shoot higher to just get everyone out before they move higher. Was Bitcoin? I wanted to look at Litecoin really fast. Litecoin. So I think Litecoin is 4-hour chart. I think Litecoin's kind of topping out here. I think it's interesting that everyone's kind of getting really crazy. If you look at the 4-hour RSI, see how it's broken down here. I want to see it move through the VIP line and head back down to the 120 level. That's what I'm looking for. Once we hit that level, I'll watch for market structure and any buying opportunities. That would line up with what I'm kind of wanting to see from Bitcoin. So I want to see Bitcoin come down. I want to see Litecoin come down. And I bet if we went and looked at Ethereum, I bet it would look very similar, where they all just come down and before the big move higher. and Litecoin would probably go to like, you'd say like here. So that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. That's it. I just
I
want to
like
share
the
those.
idea that I don't know whether you can see on my screen. This is the weekly chart. I know it's an absolute mess, but you can see that we did hit that AB equals CD objective that we've been talking about for quite some time. And on that event, I would imagine there's probably a lot of market participants that not only said, okay, that's it. You know, you can see the 52-week range reload zone. All right, I'm going to take some profits. And because this is technically a PRZ, potential reversal zone, I wouldn't even be surprised if there were actually some people that even strapped on shorts at that level. As well, last week's action left a huge tail. And it's interesting how the bottom of the tail actually corresponds with the previous breakout. So really, I might argue that all of this area is just open sort of floating space. We could easily come down, explore into that tail a little bit, wash out the weak hand longs, and like Julian says, continue our surge higher following that event. So yeah, this looks a little bit vulnerable here. And of course, nobody at TRI had any business buying Litecoins up here. If they did, tisk, shame on you. You know, your W's were way down here at the bottom. Maybe you hunt bullish bots off of this consolidation, off of the lower time frames. But for heaven's sakes, I don't want to hear anybody saying they went and FOMO'd into Litecoin yesterday. That was just really, really amateur. So yeah, I would agree with you. You know, crypto's looking a little bit vulnerable here. You know, if you know, like I said, if the bullets keep flying out of Hong Kong, then maybe we just keep sort of pressing our way higher here. But if things sort of settle down and the calm sort of returns to the market, I could see crypto take a pause here for a week or so. That wouldn't shock me. And then, of course, we all know that usually following a Fed meeting, Bitcoin usually and crypto usually comes off. So I've seen this happen at least 3 or 4 times in the past. If somebody wants to do a historical study, what does Bitcoin do after Fed meetings? That would be a really interesting study. But I'm kind of thinking that, you know, latter part of June, early part of July, I think we're due for a bit of a pullback here, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's 10 minutes past the top of the hour. We're still sort of breaking Julian in as to this strict. We've broken Thomas in. I think we got him in the range. So next Thursday, you know, sort of keep an eye on the clock as we approach the top of the hour. And if you hear me blabbing away, go, Brian, shut up. I got to get my.
I think it might have been more Brian than me this time.
Could be. I have no problem
sure it
whatsoever. Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear you barking at me. Anyway, long and short of it here, I think we should wind this up. Fantastic report. Great Barkinator. There you go. Great content. Really good. Very unique. Very personal experience. Perspective is the word I'm looking for. Any closing thoughts there, sir?
Nope. Let's see what happens over the next week.
Okay.
See if I'm right or not.
Okay. Why don't we leave it at that? Mr. Mayor, shall we wind things up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And of course, the mayor himself has got a presentation for us to check out tomorrow. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best. And the only thing left for good old Brian to say, and we'll leave it for Julian, is...
Bye for now.